Hey everyone.
Hello. How you doing? I'm just going to wait a few secs before I start. Hopefully, say some delivery people join. Otherwise, I'll be fielding some questions. I'm just going to wait a couple more seconds and then I will get started. Right, I'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is our monthly delivery group AMA. So delivery is deploying changes to .com, and we are preparing and publishing the releases to our self-managed users as well. If you have any questions, please drop them in the agenda and I will go ahead and get started. We are joined by various people from delivery group, so hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions. And John has a question. He's not on the call, but he's left us an async question. So I will go ahead and verbalize it, which is, what are some current pain points around deployments of Gitly, particularly when involving a Git security release? Our team would love to help iterate on this. Do we have anyone on the call who would like to give us a brief summary of some of the pain points and also, like, I guess, considerations we take into account when we are deploying Gitly? No, okay.
I can try.
Yeah, go ahead, Myra. I was going to say, otherwise you get my version, but Myra's version is going to be a better one. So yeah, thanks, Myra.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. For the last security releases involving Git, I remember that it has to be careful not to leak the version to the public, because we get some coordination with the Git team, like, hey, there is this release date, and we need to coordinate the embargo date with both the Git team and the GitLab team. And that creates a bit of hard work, because we need to prepare the versions from our side and deploy it to gitlab.com without leaking them before the embargo date lifts on the Git side. So that is one problem. Another one is that we need to do some preparations in our servers, I believe, to actually confirm that we are running an undisclosed version from Git. We actually updated a patch and a documentation. I'm going to link this.
So I think it's the dependencies, right, Myra? Like, I think that's what we kind of got. So I think we have an interesting, we have a few interesting dependencies and sort of critical ordering for a regular deployment of Gitly, and then it's made a little bit more significant when we're doing any kind of security release. So in a regular deployment of Gitly, we have got two kind of release methods for Gitly. We have the Gitly gem, which is entirely owned by the Gitly team and published, new versions go out. And we also have the Gitly deployment as part of our .com deployment. That has quite a significant version dependency. So we must deploy that and roll it back in a very specific order to manage the dependencies. And because of the gem and the Gitly deployments, we also have kind of different versioning dependencies that come in. So I think it gets difficult around security releases when we need to update the gem. We also need to update the Gitly we're using for .com. And we can't, as Myra mentioned about the embargoing, we can't always reveal the vulnerability ahead of time. So it's the, how do we control that rollout and get all of the versions updated? Yeah, I think it's one, like, Sam, I know you've been kind of talking a bit with Gitly team already about improving processes, but like definitely something we would love to be able to improve on. I believe there are some issues already, but I know it's not something that delivery has managed to get capacity to iterate on so far.
I think another one of those issues was to try to document all the environment variables that we were using, because since we were required to use a different Git version that wasn't public, that was built in our repos, some environment variables need to be modified in our deployer projects. And it was a mess at some point because we didn't know which point was referencing. So I think there is an issue about documenting that process somewhere, but I'm not sure if this was already performed by the GitLab team.
Deployments to GitLab have an interesting process as well, because in many ways they are using our most automated deployment method, and that unlike for other GitLab components, what we have is an automated creation of an MR, which the the release bot creates an MR, and it gets approved, and then it should sort of set to merge when the pipeline succeeds, and it gets pulled into auto deploys automatically. So in a good day, changes merged into GitLab get automatically just pulled in to our GitLab.com deployments. We do have two pain points around them. One is there is something which is some kind of bug in the product, or there's some thing, I don't think we ever got further than thing, which can mean that once you've set a pipeline to succeed, it doesn't always merge. And the belief seems that if something interrupts it, it will be passing and ready to go, but not merged. That's something which we see on occasion, which means that new GitLab changes just don't get pulled in when they should be, and it needs manual intervention. The other one that we have is flaky tests. So sometimes GitLab changes get merged and tests fail, and that means that also the automatic pulling in. So there are a couple of points where what should be a fully hands-off process ends up not being, and that can be quite disruptive. Does anybody have any other questions, either on this topic or any other topic? Terry, I see you typing. Do you want to verbalize and we'll type?
Yeah, I guess I'm just here poking around because I've been following the issue about the question about Zook deployments, but I don't have a great understanding of how the Helm charts and the releases interact. And maybe, is it possible for us to go the GitLab route? I guess the only interaction I have with releases that I'm aware of is we have a very manual process to get the Elasticsearch indexer updated. I don't like the way that works because it's still very manual. There's a lot of manual MR creation and tagging and stuff that feels like it shouldn't be that hard, but I don't necessarily want that for Zook. But I guess I'm just a little lost about what steps we should take, and I can link the issue in the document for anyone that.
Yeah, this is a great question. Zook is using our charts. So at the moment you get your rollouts on a Monday, we do a weekly chart bump with the GitLab chart bump. And that is a semi-automated process we have running in delivery. So we get the MR created, then somebody in delivery needs to manually review that, and we merge it and roll it out through the different environments. Now, we have a better process, but still not brilliant. We have a better process for something like container registry, which is a similar type of component. Still very manual. And in an ideal world, we would automate it and pull it into our GitLab.com auto deployments. But again, capacity is making that our main blocker there. So the big challenge we have with making Zook more frequent is when we update the chart, it affects all our components. So Graham came back with, there are sort of two ways we can do this. So either you can essentially adopt the manual process that teams like Package are using with container registry. It will still be a bit manual. You'll still need to go through some steps, but the end result is that you will get a process where you can create a merge request which just bumps your Zooked version. You would still need somebody to review and merge that, but that's a little bit easier. It's a little bit less risky, and generally most SREs are kind of comfortable to do that process. So things move a bit faster. Or we can do more frequent chart bumps. That is probably not going to be like consistently done. That will depend a bit on delivery work. So you get weekly. We may be able to do them more frequently, but it will a bit depend on who's available to do those things. So in an ideal world, we would have a process where you would be set up more like Gitly. So you would actually get the automated version bumping, and things would just be pulled in. But
there
that
aren't
will
really
take
great
some work.
It's not, I guess for that part, it's not, is there like a documented process that could be followed, or is it's not?
Unfortunately not. Now, unfortunately, we're not self-serve on these things at the moment.
Okay.
So we would have to prioritize some delivery time to get that implemented.
For the one that you're recommending, I did read that. I guess my question around going that route, is there going to be, if we do that and override the container version of Zooked, does the chart bump still have to happen?
I'm not sure. I mean, it would still have to happen. I think you would get your changes. I think they would be visible, but I'm not totally sure. I'd maybe have to check with Graham.
Okay.
But I believe if what he's proposing is the same as what we're doing for the container registry, you would get your version visible and you'd be able to see the things.
Okay. I appreciate the sync chat about it. It's just this stuff's all a little new to me. So CZ mentioned that this call is happening, and I was like, well, that's very convenient. So I guess
this is exactly what it's for.
Yeah, we can see maybe there's a way to get trained up on the process asynchronously, so we can get a few of our team members up and running on this. That would be great.
Sure, let's do that. Yeah, let's figure out what we would need to give you. I'll have a look and see if we've got any docs that will guide you on this, and then we can just sort of close the gaps to help you do that. And then you can just like pretty much update as often as you need to.
That sounds awesome.
Cool. Ian, you have the next one.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you everyone for the collaboration on the release date change to the third Thursday. It's been a pleasure getting to work with a bunch of you via issues and epics, but I haven't actually gotten to say hi, so I wanted to say hello and thank you for the collaboration. Myra, I see you said should we remove draft from the title? Where do you see draft right now?
Yeah, the epic. It is titled with draft. Move the monthly release date.
I have no idea.
I don't think the epic is no longer in draft. This is actually ready.
Yeah, I just removed that. Thank you for catching that. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Awesome. I think we've been just operating by all the sub epics and issues that just got missed. So thank you very much for that.
And I want to say hi, Ian, and thank you for all the work you're doing. So for people who don't know, Ian is doing the really hard job for the date change of coordinating all of us across all of GitLab to get all the different pieces in place. So appreciate all of the work that's going into that, Ian.
Yeah, it absolutely takes a village, and this is a group effort, and I think the outcome is better for everybody, especially from the perspective of not having team members needing to work on weekends or feeling like they need to work on weekends. So I'm excited about that. Absolutely. I think it's going to be a huge one. And actually, this is a really well-timed question because actually, Myra, do you want to give us a little update on the stuff you were just talking to me about earlier about this epic?
Sure. Why not? Let me just quickly pull the epic.
I can add links if you want to talk.
Okay. So I got it. So as a response to the release date moving from being the 22nd to the third Thursday of each month, we have adapted the release tools and processes to comply with this date. Basically, we adapted our tooling, the release tooling, the deployments, and everything to make sure that we are ready to release our versions on the third Thursday of each month. And also, as an aside, that implied preparing a very cool gem that calculates the third Thursday for us. So we don't have to calculate it manually, because thinking of the 22nd date is very easy for us because we know this is a hard number, but calculating the third date of each month is a relative date and it is hard for us. So we also came up with a gem that is going to be the single source of truth for releases informations. It not only calculates the upcoming releases, it also tells you what is the active version, the current version, and the versions that are inside the maintenance policy. So that is very cool. We are going to do an announcement very soon about these changes to make everyone aware of what is coming. And the change is actually going to be present starting with the 16.6 release, which is going to be on November. So exciting times.
Absolutely, thanks for that. So yeah, we're hoping we have all the pretty much pieces done, as Maya mentioned. We have another epic that we will bring into progress on the 23rd of October, so that we can just make sure we watch all of the delivery pieces closely over that first milestone and make sure we get all the permissions and issues and all of the little bits and pieces happening as we expect them. So yeah, exciting progress, and great work for everyone who worked on that one, and Myra for DRIing the epic as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I was just curious, in November time, because of the US holiday, and there's an incentive to not do it on the 20th, 22nd there?
No, I think it was
debate,
random, right?
About whether, the winter holiday or like the end of November holiday, or which holiday do we want to disrupt? And I think that we diverted away from the international one.
But it should be less disruptive though, because it will mean in November the release date is the 16th, I believe.
Yeah, it ends up being a week before the US Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah, so hopefully it actually ends up being, it wasn't planned that way, but I hopefully it ends up being better, that we have more people around. Does anybody else have a question they'd like to verbalize or write?
I'm curious about, are there any quality of life improvements that you want to highlight in the last month or two, other than obviously moving release date, but that hasn't quite happened yet?
I think the other one I would highlight is the work that Steve, you've just wrapped up on automating parts of the security release. Do you want to give us a bit of an overview?
Yeah, you mean the work that we're currently working on, or some of the automations that we've just wrapped up?
The automation we just wrapped up, yeah.
Yeah, so we've made a lot of improvements automating our various, well, we started with the security release, and so we've started moving, instead of, we have this big checklist issue that we just work through the checklist every single month, and I think there was 80 some items on the list. And we started going through and automating those items into a pipeline. And so now, instead of working through the list, we just go and click start on the pipeline, and it does a lot of those different tasks for us, with the eventual goal of automating even more and more as we go along. But what we've been able to do is take sort of the initial steps of the security release, which is usually like the first day's work, and then the steps right after the release, all of the different cleanup and resyncing. And we've moved that into pipelines, essentially taking it down from, sometimes an hour or more of time to being, just click it, it runs in a minute or two, and then spits out some results in Slack. And so that's been really nice for release managers. A lot of those sort of mundane tasks have been removed. Release managers have been responding well to it.
Yeah, and I think for me, this one was really exciting because pretty much I think the whole time we've been at GitLab, our releases have been fairly similar. We've had a checklist of tasks that we go through to get a release out the door. So this has been really exciting because this is our sort of shown us a path that looks like it will really help us in terms of actually automating a lot of these steps. So I think we've already made a little bit of a progress on the monthly release prep. We have one step, I think, was the one you added, Steve. But yeah, we can see ways that we can push this out across more of our releases, which is really awesome. Does anybody else have a question they'd like to verbalize?
No, I just want to say thanks for all the patch releases and getting those out. I know backports are a pain, but they're really appreciated because, obviously our customers are suffering from certain bugs that get fixed. So thanks for all that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Dan. Fantastic. Well, in which case, thank you everyone for joining, and thanks to everyone who asked us a question. Really great to see you all. And hopefully we'll see you next month. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.